Hey guys, welcome to Rutin Podcast. It's your girl Amira.
And I'm Kuya. The Rutin Podcast is where we chat about the struggles and insecurities that Amira, myself, and perhaps you guys are facing too as well. Simply by having conversations, asking questions, and listening
Can help us all feel a little less lonely in this world, and sometimes that's all we need. Are you ready for it?
check your ego and baggage at the door.
And let's layer in.
In this episode, we'll be talking about something that both Amira and I struggle with, and we're still going through it, and it's burnout.
Yeah.
First week of 2021. So I think a lot has happened in the past 7 days in the world, in Malaysia, and also work started.
Work started as well. Yeah, that was a big shock to the system for me.
Correct. Same. First question
Mhm.
to Amira. I mean, the word burnout has been thrown out a lot, and people talk about it a lot. But what does burnout mean to you specifically?
I am going to describe it in a way that happens to me and what I categorize as burnout. Sometimes I get into this period or in this funk, and it's not just recently, but I think throughout my whole life, you always just have something to do. This is one thing after the other, and there's never, and it's not just work. Perhaps there's a lot of work, and then like I have to like spend time with my boyfriend and also my family, and then my friends, and then somebody else needs help from me for something, and I'm just constantly having one thing after the other. So, and then when I come to the point where I feel like I have so much to do, but then I feel stuck and I just cannot start on anything because I have so much on my plate. That for me is my definition of what a burnout is. When I get to that place where like, I cannot do anything because I just have so much to do. Does that sound familiar
Yeah,
to you?
yeah, that makes sense. I think for me, I always just associated the word burnout with professional burnout, like work-related burnout, and obviously that has different shapes and forms. But I think for me, burnout now takes on a wider scope as well. For me personally, when I myself think that I'm experiencing a burnout or nearing my maximum capacity, is when I feel just emotionally drained. Like I feel drained of anything, of like my energy. I literally have zero energy, and I feel like I cannot I'm just overwhelmed by all the expectations and all the different roles that I have to play, be it at work, as an employee, as a wife, as a daughter. I just feel I cannot deal with anything anymore
At that point.
Yeah. And
That's a sign.
That's a
the
sign.
red flag.
Yeah.
I just going back to the emotional burnout. You get the feeling that you get numb, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you just kind of go into this zone. And for me, that looks like me not doing anything. That's the
Right.
so much on my plate, but I cannot do anything.
I
and
see.
I just zone out.
Yeah, I do that too. Like I just kind of like watch Netflix for a whole weekend because I felt like, oh, that this will do me good. This kind of just being off, switching off, and like not thinking about anything will help me.
Does that help?
I think we'll get into that question. Okay.
I'm interested to know.
So personally, burnout, just to recap, means to you is like when you're feeling numb, you feel like just overwhelmed, and you to the point where you can't do anything. I think it's also similar for me. I feel numb, and I feel to an extent, I feel like everything I do is not right. I'm not doing anything right in my life, and also I feel just very negative. That's when I know. Like nothing in my life is like when I struggle to see any kind of positive or good things in my life. That's when I feel burnt out.
That was a good thing that you mentioned. Aside from feeling just disengaged and numb and just cannot do anything, I also feel extremely guilty for feeling this way. So a lot of negativity, like you. I feel like I'm a lazy person because I cannot get myself out of this funk. So it's like a vicious cycle. Because feeling bad then makes me more stressed. Burnout, and then burnout is making me have this negative feeling, and then it goes back. So
interesting. How do you know? Like you mentioned just now, you're feeling numb and everything. But how do you know that okay, you're actually burnt out? And can you describe your experience in being burnt out?
Yeah. Okay. I want to take it back to my first memory of this happening. And at that time, I didn't know what burnout was. I don't have the vocabulary. But now that I am where I am right now, I'm looking back and trying to think, when did this occur in my life? How did this happen? My first memory was actually during trial SPM.
Oh, okay.
So I was 17.
Okay.
I went to boarding school in
Okay.
high school. And it was BM penulisan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Bahasa has never been like a strength of mine. But I'm super, straight A student, trying to be.
You want to fit that role.
I wanted to achieve the best I could do. So it was the day before. It was the morning before the BM penulisan paper.
Okay.
And I woke up early because I wanted to go through my notes to understand what I was going to write about. And I look at my note, everything blurred. And everything around me went quiet and I didn't see anything. Everything just went. And I am in my dorm room, right, in my bed. I'm 17. What do I know about what I was going through? So what I did was, when everything went kind of quiet, but my heart beat fast.
Oh, wow.
Everything went quiet, but I could hear my heartbeat. So that was weird.
Right.
What I did at that time was I called my mom. If you know me, I'm the type of person that I call my mom like once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So for my mom to hear me see my phone number at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, she panicked. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Her 17-year-old daughter in boarding school is calling her. And when I told her what's going on, I think she didn't know. I told her that I was stressed out or like just scared about taking this paper. I don't think she knew how to handle it. So even what it is, either way, I survived my boarding school experience. I would say that boarding school experience was highly stressful for me, and I had a lot of burnout episodes when I was in high school.
Okay. Why do you think?
Even up till now, I still think that 5 years of high school is the toughest years I've ever had in my life.
Right.
It was just intense. It was a lot of stress, but it made me who I am today.
Of course. Okay.
In a good way and in a bad way, but this penchant for stress, I think, came from my 5 years
your
in high
upbringing.
School. I was built up for that kind of.
And you went to boarding school, right? Okay, so I'm not going to name this.
It's fine. I went to college Yayasan Saat in Air Keroh, Malacca.
And for those of you who don't know, college Yayasan Saat, or KYS we call it in Malaysia, is a very like high performance kind of school where it's very difficult to get in, and you have to really get the grades to get in, and then once you're in, obviously they put on way more expectations on you, and like you have to be this ideal student,
all-rounder, that's what they call
right?
it, all-rounder.
Wow.
So not just getting straight A's is a hygiene, but then you also have to have leadership skills, you have to play sports, you have to play a musical instrument.
Right.
It was all part, and that's a lot for a teenager to internalize. And when you are not being taught on how to deal with the stress, I'm 30 plus years old now, and I'm still
struggling.
I'm still like coming from that background.
And what do you think that you feel stressed when you joined, when you entered KYS? Was it because of all the expectations that were put on you?
Yeah,
is that
of course.
The main? Okay.
Of course. I mean, like you said, right? The school is so you have to do an exam to get in. There's this selection process. I felt that I made it here, that I need to prove my stripes to be here, and I put a lot on myself.
Right.
But I never learned to be. There's a lot to do, and I was still doing it. But there were like other repercussions from that. I didn't deal with that. What does burnout look for you?
I think for me, because I think you had like a pivotal moment where it was a big shift from the school, from being at home with your mom and then going to boarding school. So that was a point, and I never had that kind of like until until I started working. I think overall, I felt like my growing up, my upbringing was always, until I started working, that is, until I entered adulthood, was I think I was very numb. So I was very unconscious of my emotions, of whatever I'm going through. So again, I also did not have the vocabulary, but in terms of like memory-wise, because I think growing up, I always had this kind of idea of myself, because I have an older brother, so I'm the second child. So my brother, I think, to an extent, he got away with not being too close to the family, and like in terms of responsibilities, my parents kind of was a bit lax on him. And then so growing up, all I wanted to do was to be the opposite of my brother. So if he's not that great in school, I want to be good in school. I want to be the good sister. I want to be the good daughter, and I want to be, I want to be the best daughter that my parents could have, the best student and everything. So I think until I was in university, I felt like I tried to accomplish the roles, and I didn't. There's no moment where I felt burnt out. But I think when I started working was when it was quite critical for me, because that was another role that I had to take on. Like, oh, now I have to be a good employee. So before this, I was juggling being a student, being a doctor, and then mainly and being a sister, because I have siblings, right? So these were the three roles that I tried to perfect, and then I felt like I was okay. Not crumbling. I was. There were moments where I did crumble, but I can't remember. And also a good friend. I have to be a good friend. And also, you were growing up. I had to be this. Beauty was also something that I aspired to be. So I think I was failing. I felt like I was failing on the beauty front, because I thought, okay, now I'm ugly, blah blah blah. But I have to be good at the rest. And then when I started working, so there was another load that had to come in. So I have to be a good employee now. Therefore, I have to appease not just my parents, my friends, and my family. I have to appease my bosses. And I think my first job, I was working in Securities Commission Malaysia, and I was doing investigation, capital market investigation. So it was something that was completely opposite from my personality. If you guys know me, investigating, come on.
And she used to have handcuffs in your briefcase.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So it's like, I think it was a complete opposite role. But then for me, my mindset was always, I need to be good at it, whatever my role is. So I bend over backwards to appease my bosses. And I think to an extent, they didn't see that I was capable, because they saw me as a girl, fresh grad, not taking her career seriously. But I proved to them that I could. And after I got the recognition, because I got a promotion, I felt like burnt out. After that moment, I remember after appeasing everyone, so getting my promotion, I felt like an empty shell. I felt like, okay, I got all these accomplishments, but I feel numb and empty. Like I don't feel anything. So that's
your definition of burnout for Kuya.
Yeah, for me,
feeling
numb and I feel empty. I think the word is numb and empty. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was my memory. So throughout your life, moving on from high school, or even in high school and starting work and everything, do you have signs or something that your body tells you or shows you that you are kind of reaching that point? Yeah. Do you have are you more aware now of the signs, physical or personality?
Yes, I am going to confidently say, as I grew older and as I learn more, and this is the important part, I think, is it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be, in your 50s and still not be able to deal with it until you equip yourself with the knowledge about it. And that is the quest that I am in right now. So I think I'm more acutely aware of myself at where I am right now. I can sense when something doesn't sit right with me, and when I question it and I realize that it's stress, then there are certain things that I would do to remedy that. So I'm not perfect. I am still figuring out what that is, but just looking at from where I've come from that 17-year-old to being in my 20s, dealing with stress in my 20s, and then now I'm in my 30s, and still, the stress is still there. Maybe it looks differently, but I'm also managing it differently. So I think it's a continuous growth. For me, right, it's the stress that creates the burnout. And there is a lot of things that can stress you out. And I think people fall under the trap that as soon as you eliminate that thing that causes the stress is then solved. Yeah. But what I've learned is that I need to also handle the stress. So say I have a big project at work, and we fall under the trap that if we get that project done, then the stress goes away. It's actually not the case. It's two separate things. There is the stressor, and then there's the stress. So dealing with that stress is this continuous journey of mine that I'm going through, and I think I will always be on that.
I see.
I will always have to find different ways and see what works.
And did you manage to like you said, when you were in school and in your 20s and your 30s, when you feel like you've reached that you've burnt out, did you talk about it?
No. Did you?
No, hell no.
I mean,
I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, right? This is I want to say one of the first few
Yeah.
burnout conversations that I'm having
Yeah.
outside of myself.
Same. I feel like to an extent now, in women, women and men, there's just so much societal pressure and also roles that we have to play. For example, I think personally speaking from my experience, that okay, so I have the daughter, student, employee, right? I'm tired at work, but then when I go back, I also have to play this, good daughter, obedient, and help my family. And then now I'm a wife. When in my 30s was when I realized that like I cannot do this alone. I cannot deal with like all these roles that somehow someone tells me that, oh, okay, to be a good employee you need to do this. You know how like when we started working they said that you need to stick at a job for 2 years because if not it's bad for your CV. It's bad for your CV. You can't
It's
do that.
quite toxic
It's so
advice, in my opinion.
same, and it's like who made those rules? Like who?
Mm.
If that environment is not suitable for you and you are basically going crazy in that company, it's a toxic culture, why do you have to stay for 2 years? So it's good for your CV? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
And if your boss, if you are in a culture where it's not helpful to your development or for your mental health, you do not need to stay. But I think when I was a fresh grad, that was one of the few things that were ingrained in me. Like, oh, you have to, bosses like it when you do certain things. You need to be like this, you need to be like that. So that was what I did. I like changed myself, my personality. My bosses at that time loved to run. I hate running. Hello, I'm
So
not
did you try out running?
Yes, I literally went running just because it was like the thing to do and to be visible, or like And one more thing, like at work, people always say you need to be visible. Bosses need to know who you are, and like sometimes you have to go out of your way to fit this corporate
persona. And that corporate female. Female corporate, what's the word? Women executive.
Oh, for sure.
That's the kind, and I have that too. Because entering, right, this vision of who I want to be and how I want to portray myself as a professional woman. And we talk a lot about expectations just recently, but that is so directly related to burnout. Because a lot of the time I find for myself and also having conversation with friends who are similarly going through their own burnout, is actually they're dealing with expectations of themselves
in society.
Yes, and to a certain degree, sometimes we have a lot of work, and that's a physical burnout. But I guess where we are more leading to is that emotional burnout that people are not readily available to see. It's not physically there. You can't see that this person is working from 6 a.m. to like 10 p.m. But it's an emotional burnout. It's the fact that I have to be a runner because everybody else in the office runs. I have to come home and prepare food even though I'm a working woman because my family expects food to be ready when I'm home. I think those kind of expectations, we talk about it very nonchalantly, but it affects us so greatly. So if we are not aware of the expectations that we actually hold deeply in ourselves, it's going to be difficult for us to heal.
Correct.
We don't ask that about ourselves.
I agree. So which is like the segue to my next question. The main causes of burnout, right? Essentially we talked about it just now. In your view, is that expectations? I think maybe we can dive a bit deeper from your end. Amira, what's your main causes of burnout?
I'm going to sound like a broken record. It's expectation, and I'm not.
What expectations?
Going back to where I went to high school, I feel I went to a really premier high school, which is known for really great students.
Yes.
Right? And then I had a scholarship, and actually this started with I have this like life where a lot of people saw a lot of potential in me and gave me a lot of opportunities. But then I was ambitious. They saw that in me. They saw a girl who was very ambitious and was willing to put in hard work to get what she wants. And so I was blessed with a lot of opportunities that I grabbed and I took hold. But then what comes with that life is the want to fulfill everybody's expectation of me, because everybody had such high hopes and saw such great potential in me that I felt that I needed to do it.
For them or for you?
For a long time, I thought it was for myself. And throughout my years and where I am right now, I recognize that certain things are not really even things that I wanted. But because it was the natural path for me and everybody felt like that was the right move, that was the right next move for me. So I went through it. And this is the emotional burnout that people don't see. It was a lot of work, but at the same time, I was doing something that I did not really felt was truly me, aka
Right.
you running
Right. Yeah,
the
yeah,
office,
yeah.
and that those expectations, that pursuit of perfection is my downfall.
I see. And what were some of the things that you felt like you had to abandon yourself just in order to meet those expectations?
At a young age, I danced. I did a lot of painting. I was into arts. I like
Wow.
music. I played music. I write. But as you grow older, you get to nak masuk form 1.
Science
so,
stream.
Masuk, form 4.
Yeah.
It makes sense for me to go to science stream. When we got into form 5 and it's time to apply for scholarships, and I find myself applying for scholarship for like economics, financial engineering, actual science. And I thought it was right at that time, and I don't want to regret it because it got me to where I am
Correct.
now.
Yeah.
But I lost that side of me, the artistic side of me, because it was not what other people expected of me to do.
Right.
And I'm 20 years later, I'm still feeling the repercussion of those decisions that I made.
And then when did you realize that, I abandoned my creative, my artist,
Well, because it's compounding stress, right? So it was fine when I made that decision when I was 17 and I went a scholarship for economics.
Yeah.
But as I grow more and I make more and more decisions that it's not actually who I am, it's compounded.
Yeah.
And it has made me into this kind of crumbly, shattered woman that I am right now.
Right.
So I'm trying to heal.
Right. Which is why we're all talking about this in this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But can I just ask, do you now recognize when you are about to get into that funk? Because I still struggle with it, and sometimes it just bam, hit me out of nowhere, like one day.
Yeah, I think same. I think it's still, I don't have there's no clear, I'm still trying to figure out the signals from my body or like how I'm reacting. I think just going back into going back to my childhood, like how I think you mentioned just now, when you were growing up, people always had this label that, Amira is ambitious, she's a go-getter, she's smart, she can do this, when I was a toddler, or maybe 4 5 years old, I think people started calling me like pretty or cute or whatever it is at that time. And I felt like that was all I wanted to be.
To be pretty.
Yeah, to be pretty. So I think I did fit that whatever pretty thing when I was from standard 1 till 12. I was 12 years old. So I felt like, and then I felt like, okay, I ticked that pretty box. And then I also, obviously, my parents did tell me to focus on my grades. So I remember when I was standard 1, I was in this class Satu Brilliant. I went to Sekolah Kebangsaan Taman Tun, Taman Tun 1. You went to Taman Tun 2?
No. I went to Damansara Jaya.
Oh yeah, Damansara Jaya. Okay. So in Taman Tun 1, so I had like this group of close friends, and they all got number 1 to 3 in the school exam, year-end exam, and I got number 12. And I was just like, oh my god, I'm not like them. And my parents, they say that, yeah, all your friends got number 1 to 3, top 3, but you are like not even top 10. And I was 7 at that time. I mean, I was like that. I took it personally to the point where I'm like, okay, I don't care. I will perform. Then standard 2 onwards, I consistently got top 5. I think number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was like important to me. But I think I also struggled. Then I think I noticed that as I got older, like I went to puberty, and then like all this changes my body. Like I also changed school. I went to Sri Aman, and I think another thing that happened to Sri Aman is a girls' school. I think.
How's the dynamic?
Yeah. So
does it help or does it make it worse?
I think personally, it wasn't a good fit for someone with my personality, because I am very insecure. I think the way I grew up, like I seek validation from other people. I'm the type of I don't know why I'm crying.
That's okay.
Yeah, because I feel like my worth is tied to other people's view of me. So I remember when I was like 20 plus first when someone asked me like who are you like without your expectations, I had no idea. So I think going back to high school, I think Sri Aman, they have like this, the popular kid, and like they were doing certain things and they look a certain way, and I wanted to fit into that role, but I didn't because I don't know, I was also very insecure, and I wasn't that kind of person. And again, not just that, I also had the science stream issue. I was also quite artistic. I wanted to learn art. I wanted to go to art classes, but my parents were just like, it's not their fault, but it's just that they were raised that this is good and that's bad.
And by the way, we're not pointing based on anybody.
No.
It's just a fact of how we grew up.
Correct.
And we are talking about what happened
Yeah.
because of what happened back then.
Correct.
So it's not a blaming game.
Yeah, it's not. So I think my parents thought that, okay, being in science stream was good, and you have the grade, so you need to go into science stream. And then again, I also faced the scholarship issue. I remember applying for Petronas scholarship for geophysics.
Girl.
I mean, and I got it.
Okay.
I got the the Petronas scholarship to do geophysics in Arizona, America. And then we went to KY to do the A levels. I remember, when I was 17, I was telling my parents like, oh, I don't think this is for me. I think it's not. But then they told me that, financially it makes sense for you to do this because we don't have to send you abroad.
And be grateful that you have a
You
scholarship.
have to be grateful.
I feel like I got that a lot.
Yeah.
Even though like every being in me is screaming that saying no to everything, but my body is still following. And I think this is like the inside stress that builds up.
Correct.
I find a lot in my friends is we feel a certain way, but because we were raised to be so polite and such a good person, good student, quiet, not submissive, but just polite. I would say polite, right?
Be nice. You have to be nice.
So when you feel a certain strong of emotions, I learned from a very young age to keep that in check, Amira. I like to think that it's also because I'm a woman. So me expressing anger or expressing sadness gets misconstrued as she's being too emotional. She's having her PMS.
It happens at work a lot as well. Yeah.
And I think that we are not allowed to have emotions because we are told that is not proper for us to be.
That's a negative thing. To have emotions or to be emotional is a negative trait because I think society has this view that human beings are logical, rational beings with no emotions. That is the ideal. Everyone must work towards that. If you're emotional, no, get it in check.
It's a weakness.
Yeah. Fix that. Even I was also talking to my husband. So he said that, talking about emotional repression, you have to repress. He said, he himself feels like as a guy, he can't express himself because you can't be sensitive.
You need to be a man.
You need to be a man.
Whatever that means.
You need to man up. You can't cry. So you just have to deal with your shit. Even women is the same. Like you can't be emotional because then you're not like
you're not being professional.
You're not being
professional at work. If you express any dissatisfaction, girl,
man can.
Yeah, that's actually I feel like that's a separate
for sure
because I have a lot to say.
Me too. One of the causes of burnout is also trying to appease people. I have this extreme desire to appease people because I put my self-worth is tied to people's view of me. So, this is quite funny because it happened last night actually. So, there's like work happened and there's like some issues at work, and then I had to inform my boss of certain things involving certain people. So then I was anxious and I was talking to my husband about it. I was like, oh, like these people, they won't like me if I say certain things about them, or like they say if I point out some things that could be improved, will they not like me? And then he just turned around and he said, why do you care? But I do, because I think my personality trait is
there's a lot of weightage.
Yeah, people's perception
of
me,
view of you.
Yeah, correct.
I don't think you are alone in this.
Yeah,
I would have to say personally, I don't resonate with that.
Okay,
but I hear a lot of this from peers,
Right.
colleagues.
Yeah.
And this intense desire to people please.
I can't imagine. I think for women especially, I think men, they have their own set of expectations. I know they have their struggles as well. I'm not trying to belittle men and their struggles. I know they have like I mentioned just now, my husband, he can't be emotional, he can't express his emotions, he have to suffer, deal with things alone. And I think for women, I think the bigger thing for us was like looks as well, and also can't be emotional. And then I think then for me, the trying to be pretty thing led to being thin and like body dysmorphia. Like
Okay.
how I developed body dysmorphia was because I wanted to be thin, because I equate thin, if you're thin, then you're pretty. Then if you're pretty, you'll be successful. And if you're successful, you'll be happy.
Yeah.
But I never really did the equation as to why do I want to be thin? Okay, because I want to be pretty. But why do I want to be pretty? Why do I care?
Do you know now? Why do you want to be pretty?
I traced it back to when this whole wanting to be pretty thing started. It was because growing up, when I was a child, people always say, I still do it to my nieces. I'm like, oh,
You're so pretty.
you're so pretty. You're so cute.
So nice dress.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't realize what it does to them. It's like,
they grew up wanting to hear it, which is
Correct.
essentially how
what happened to you. Correct. Yeah. Do you think that some people are more susceptible to being burnt out than others? Is it like a personality thing for people, like people with this kind of personality, that it's easier for them to be burnt out?
Yeah.
Is that
I
what you
think the definition of burnout that most commonly are known is that if you are a hard worker, if you work long hours, if you are in a highly demanding job, you are more prone to burnout. But I feel that burnout looks differently for different people. Everybody goes through it because burnout comes from stress. Everybody goes through stress. Everybody handles stress differently. So how stress morphed also looks differently. For somebody who is overworking and putting in a lot of the hours, I feel like that's easier to see when it's a burnout. But there's also burnouts where you have been caring for a sick mother, and sometimes it doesn't look like it's a lot, but then you go home worrying, and then you don't know whether the medication that you're giving them is the right. So all of that is actually stress, and that person can also go through a burnout period, but it's not long hours kind of burnout. So I think we need to stop thinking that burnout means overworking.
Yes, and that burnout is just tied to your professional environment.
No, I don't.
There's like different types of burnout. I can go into it deeper, but I think women, it's more common for women to experience burnout just because I feel, again, I'm not dissing men or anything. I mean, I love men. And I respect them. And I feel, but I think in this culture and society, I think we have moved on from just being a housewife. I think our parents, in a generation, like my mom was a housewife, my aunts were housewives. It was more prevalent then to just be a housewife and single income household, right? The men work, the women do the work, so it's very segregated. But now I feel in this environment, especially in 2020 as well, women, we don't have children, but I can't imagine for women who have children during COVID. It's like you have to work, you have to be a good employee, you have to be a good wife, you have to be a good daughter, you have to be a good mother, meaning you have to cook, you have to take care to your children's emotional needs. We also work and we carry that load. Do you think it's more common in women or men?
Just going back to what I said, it's just different. What burnout are you seeing? It's more easier for you to see burnout for somebody who's overworking. And I agree with 100% what you're saying. The role of a woman has changed, but at the same time, still the same. We are changing, meaning we are now able to get jobs and be at high position. But we are still expected to do childbearing. We are expected to do home management, be a support system for our maybe sick parents. If you look culturally, it's usually the females who are stepping into those roles. So those are the type of burnouts that I feel people don't think of as that typical burnout that we talk about. I see other people struggling with just their day-to-day, and they don't know why. This is it. This is actually the word for it. You are working yourself too hard. It's not working in hours, or it's not that you're trying to bring as much money into your income. It's these other avenues that are taking a lot of your energy. That's the burnout that you are facing. And going back to like, burnout doesn't mean that you completely there's this fight or flight that we have, right? Whenever we have a threat, whenever we're in high stress, biologically we have fight or flight. But there's a third one where we freeze. If you hit a cat and you look at it and you see that, you think that it's dead, but it's actually just like frozen. And then it will like shake and then it will run away. And that's actually my reaction to a burnout, when I become numb, do nothing. And sometimes it leads me to think that, oh man, I'm just a lazy piece of shit. You have so much to do and you just cannot move. And I just get down on myself for not being able to come out of it. And it's because I didn't realize actually I'm going through a burnout. But I'm not working a lot of hours at work. So in my head, of course I'm not going through a burnout. Like I clock in at 9, I come in at 9, I clock out at 6. So I don't think it's a work burnout, but I didn't realize actually work is very stressful. It's the stress. I did not figure out the stress from that 9 to 6 p.m. So that's why I did to bawa.
I see.
Bring it into like my whole daily life. So going back to talking about men and women, I think there are different burnouts. We are just not aware of the type of burnouts that women commonly have, because it's not as socially, it's not as common for people to be pointing it out. That you are tired to be a mother. You're tired of being mothering. I think only mothers will understand
exactly.
that statement.
I mean, because both of us are not mothers, but I can't imagine the role that all the mothers have to go through. And I feel women's role in society, to an extent, is really defined. It's like, you know, like mothering.
I think both are defined. Even men's are also defined.
Men is like you have to provide for the family, which is a lot of pressure, right? You have to provide all these things. And women, you have to take care of the household, emotional, blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of the things also, like this, the kind of going back to, because I was talking to a few of my friends who have children. So I did ask them in terms of like the choices that they make throughout their life, why did they make them? I even asked my mom about this. She doesn't have an answer, because she said that's what everyone else does. For example, you grow up, in our society or in our culture, it's like you grow up and by a certain age you have to get married. If not, you're called, what do you call? I'm not sure if you're familiar with the undertu. Undertu, right? So it's that there's that label. And in China, they have like a strict regime by a cap by 30. If you're not, you're like unwanted.
Undesirable.
Undesirable, right? And I mean that's a bit bizarre, but so first you get married, and then you have to have children, and then your children's performance in life is basically a direct reflection of you. So if your child is not doing well in school, blame the mom lah. Mom sibuk kerja, tak jaga anak. Or like all those things. And I feel it adds up if you don't check in with yourself, why you made the decisions that you made. Why did you decide to get married? Why did you decide to have children? Why did you decide to work here? What I learned personally, just from my experience, is like when I was feeling burnout at work, I will ask myself, like, why did I want to appease my bosses? Why? Why do I want people to like me? So I think sometimes if you just ask yourself, and if you don't have an answer, then that is an answer in itself.
Yes, right? I agree. And I love the fact that you are asking yourself all these questions, because I don't think we were taught to ask these questions. Nobody asked us those questions. So it's great that we are doing this, and I would like encourage, to sit down whenever you sit down with your friends, right? And you ask, how are you doing? Most people will say, I'm doing good, just like busy. And then we move on to the next topic, right? But from like one time, just have a follow-up question. What are you busy with? And just really listen. I feel a lot of the time you start hearing burnout patterns from your friends. And sometimes they don't realize that they're just stuck in this cycle of burnout. I would encourage people to have those conversations and really check in. You don't do it with everybody, you don't have to spread yourself thin. But more often than not, it's quite common
in both men and women
to go through it. I have this conversation with my boyfriend. I can see when he is going through a burnout phase as well, when he has a lot on his plate. And I want to support him.
Of course.
And a lot of the time is just providing a space for him to
listen.
let me know
Right.
what it is that's going on, and then we work through it.
Wow, yeah, that's super important. I feel, yeah, just providing a safe space for yours. Even start with yourself, like be nicer to yourself as well, because I think we also have this another talking about expectations for I think one of the things that causes burnout in women, just from my personal experience and talking to friends, is that women are told not to be selfish. You have to give up your ambitions and your a lot of your wants and desires for your family. That makes you a good daughter. That makes you a good mother. If you give up your career to take care of your children,
thumbs up.
Yeah, it's like wow, bagus.
True lah, expectations lah.
It's like it's like, and then, but I think that is the worst. I don't have children, but I think you lead by example, right? So for example, it's like if you teach your children to give up your hopes and dreams, and that is a good mom, your daughter will go out do the same. And I think obviously our parents didn't have this exposure, technology and everything was, so they were not aware of a lot of the decisions that they made then. But I think growing up, I looked up to my mom, and I think, yeah, a good mom should give up her life for her children.
But you were not actually okay with
it. But I was not okay with it, and I feel like, oh shit, I'm a horrible, selfish bitch for like
not wanting the same, not wanting to be the same.
Correct.
Way.
And I think again, like we seek answers externally. I mean, we always Google. I Google what do I do when what do I, and like I ask people to tell me what to do when I'm in a difficult situation. I ask people, oh, what do you think I should do? And rely on their answer 100%, without trying to seek for the answers myself.
Yourself.
Like for example, if I am I have a friend who was going through divorce, and she asked me, should I get a divorce? Like my husband cheated on me, should I get a divorce? And I'm like,
it's not really your place, right?
What do you feel? And she's like, I don't know, I had to Google. Like I even Google, should I leave my husband if my husband cheats on me? So those kind of things, I feel like it's like sometimes deep down, and I think you can ask yourself, if the life that you are choosing to stay with your husband, would you want the same for your children?
I think that's a good motivation for mothers to question their why. Because I heard once you have kids, like your priorities are them and you want the best for them. So I think by having this questioning exercise, it will help you guide what's the best for your kids, and for yourself, it will look like it will be the best things for you.
Correct.
Doing it for your kids.
I think men also have the same burnout. I think my husband, he just said that being a married man, sometimes can get quite lonely, because at least from his experience, they're not raised to talk about difficult things.
Expectations
of a
man, right? You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to talk about emotions.
I can't imagine how lonely is that. That must be for them, like to provide for your family. But if you're struggling to provide, can you not talk about it to your spouse?
Can you not cry? Like
can
if
you not
having
cry?
a tough time at work, I feel like fathers are not allowed to tell their families that they're having a tough time at work. They're supposed to just stick it out. And when a son sees that is his definition.
That's why we wanted to talk about this during the podcast, is that if you're a guy listening and you're struggling, you can just try talking about it to your friends. Like, I mean, as hard as it may sound, I think all you need is just one person to start the conversation, and then everyone else will feel like,
I feel it too, actually. And that honestly helps, guys.
It really helps. Because I think I did ask my husband, like, what did you try sharing with your friends? Because his answer to me was that so everyone seems to have their shit together. Why do I not have my shit together?
Really though?
It's my fault.
Does he think?
Exactly.
Yeah, really though? Does all his friends have their shit together though?
Exactly.
Let's be real.
Yeah, no one has their shit together. Trust me, guys. I mean, I look at you, and I think you have this perfect life. You have this perfect boyfriend, living boyfriend, and wonderful career. And then when you tell me your shit, it's just like, I feel like,
you're correct to say that. I cringe, because my life is not that rosy.
Exactly, but people think, especially through Instagram and everything, it doesn't help. Narrowing down to dealing with burnout. We've gone through a few cycles of burnout.
How
what's the most so far, like from your experience,
Yeah.
most effective way?
Okay, I'm not good at it, I would say. But as I was thinking about this question, I've seen a trend of how I dealt with it. I think in my 20s, I have an escapism mentality. You know, I look forward for the weekend, like party. I will go to music festivals. I'm an extrovert, so
Right.
hanging out with people, having human connections, kind of rigid.
Right.
I don't do those anymore in my 30s because I wouldn't say that those are bad things to do. I think if you read many literature, there are certain things that are quite consistent. People say, well, doing activities, being with other people,
Social, yeah.
yes, being social, being creative.
Yeah.
Those are like certain things that you can try.
Correct.
To breathing. Sorry,
Yeah,
breathing is very
breathing.
important. So in the 20s, that was what I did. Now in my 30s, I have a different set of coping mechanism. That's
Okay.
what I would call it.
Right.
I've gotten into running. There is actually scientific evidence. If you move your body,
100%.
You are actually allowing that stress to
Be released.
to like dissolve. And this could also happen through affection. So it could be like hanging out with your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your family, or just friends in general, having a hug.
Yeah. A 30-second long hug.
30-second long hug,
Yeah.
Like think about it. 20-second can be quite awkward, but it's like sit in the awkwardness for a bit, and you will actually physically feel
safe.
better.
The body feels safe.
And that's the key. Is actually going to a space where you feel safe, and that is what allows the stress to like complete and release from the body. I did exercise, being with somebody, affection, breathing. I meditate.
Right.
I think meditation and breathing is like one of the hardest one that it takes a bit of time for me personally.
Yeah, same.
And then the last is being creative. Writing. This podcast is actually my stress release. Crying is actually like a stress release too.
Men and women should try
for both.
right?
Yeah. So there's many different like options.
We were very similar in the sense that in my 20s, I like to just distract myself from distraction. I use that method. So, but I'm an introvert, so I don't enjoy going out and like being with people. So how I deal with it is I deal with it alone. So I binge watch shows. Like I could go like a whole week not talking to anyone and just watch my shows. Or I would this is so bad, but I would shop. Super materialistic, but that's a distraction.
Is it online shopping?
Online shopping.
Even pre-COVID, you were online shoppers.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what she was for shopping.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even like going out for retail therapy, go shopping, go browsing, and I do this alone. Yeah, like I find it if I have friends joining me, I find that draining.
Stress.
Yeah. So I do this alone, which some people might find weird. Food was one of my distractions as well. I would eat when I'm stressed out. Like my highlight, like you mentioned your highlight was running. My highlight was malari or the pizza. Literally, I look forward to like, pizza datang, I watch my show, perfect.
Okay, I
mean, to do that too.
No, in my 30s, I look to running, but in my 20s, I would look forward to like Friday night. Yeah. It's 5 p.m. Friday, I'm clocking out. But to head out like Zouk, like whatever is the club. I don't know where the club is coming. Whatever the hip and happening club, Changkat. Yeah, I was a Changkat bitch, guys.
Wow.
Like I was there. But that was what I was doing.
We were distracting ourselves, right?
Yeah,
so for the past 30 years, I didn't really exercise, guys. By 31 where I started, I was like, okay, and I started once a week. I didn't want to pressure myself, and that surprisingly let me.
What do you do?
Pilates. So I started the reformer Pilates once a week, and that was the commitment that I made to myself. This time is for you. It's for your body. If you're going through a stressful time, you should go work out, release the stress, and you feel better. And weirdly enough, every time after I come back from the class, I feel amazing. And I know people might want to punch us saying that, exercise. But honestly,
it's an age-old saying.
Correct.
But it's an age-old saying because it's true.
Or I think taking a walk. If you don't like exercising, because I personally did not enjoy exercising for the longest time. So I think trying to figure out what works for you. So everybody's different. For me, it was that once a week, and then I also talk to people, like talk to you. This podcast is a huge stress reliever because I feel like I'm not alone. Oh, my friend Amira is also going through it. So okay like again.
Yeah.
And maybe we can figure out a solution together. Or even if we can't figure out a solution, at least she's going through life with me. You know? what advice would you give to your 17-year-old Myra or younger Myra about burnout or about life and challenges in general?
I think that I would say to her that it's okay to fail. That this pursuit of perfection just does not make sense, and it's not going to give you that feeling of accomplishment that you are actually really seeking for. I feel that I'm talking about it, I'm reading up about it, listening to other podcasts and just smarter people, you know, like researchers and actual psychologists talking about this. It gives me an understanding of what's going on, so that I'm more in capacity to deal with myself. So sometimes I still hear that little Amira's voice in my head, and it still affects me. But in my capacity now, I'm trying not quiet her down, but try to heal her and just like give her a little hug, because by healing that inside of me, I think that I am now going to be able to live a more fulfilling life. Because I think that's what's holding me back, this constant self-doubt. It's because I have been actually perpetually been in a burnout phase all my life. Recognizing it, 2020 was a great year to kind of pause, Amira, look at yourself, and now is the time to, you know, put into action what I'm preaching.
Right. Let's give that younger Amira a big hug. Say it's okay, Amira. I think for me, like if I were to go back to like my younger self, I think when I was younger, I just wanted to be maybe not perfect, but happy. I feel like if I can solve and control everything, my life will be perfect. To an extent, I feel like I can solve, I can control this, then no problem will come. I hate dealing with problems. I hate dealing with if I get into something that's not part of my plan.
But honey, can I just tell you, that's life.
That's exactly.
That's life.
I just realized this last year. Thank you very much. Yes, that was the biggest wake up call for me. Realizing that sayang, muda, budak kecil, whatever, life will always come to you. There will always be challenges. It's like a wave. You have to naik, turun, and you just have to deal with it when it comes. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think too much ahead, too far ahead, or think about what has happened in the past too much. You just have now, so you focus on now. If you're not stressed out, right? Then there's nothing to worry about. I think that was the biggest realization, that challenges will always come,
will always be there,
and happiness is not finite. I think I watched a lot of Disney movies and everything. I always wanted that happy ending, so I was always searching for that. You know, they say there's a goal at the end of the rainbow, but there's no goal. The rainbow is the goal. You know, the saying that the rainbow is the journey of life, is what makes your life yours. And
there's, you know, again another cheesy saying that say trust the process. I never understood that until I went through a very dark period of my time and realized that, as you said, it's actually the destination the destination is not going to give me that fulfillment.
Correct.
It's getting to that. The process, you know, the routines that you put in every day to make yourself better. That is the chunk, that is the meat of the whole process, of the whole journey.
Adding on to the routine bit is that I think now, I used to think that like if my vacation is in December, I feel like my life will be shit until December and so like my whole year will be like nothing. Now it's like every day I go through. First, I accepted that every day can be challenging. There will be challenges in a day, so I just accepted that first. Work can be a big challenge, so I have to go through this every day. So what do I do to deal with this every day? My realization was that, okay, even though I have to work tomorrow and it'll be stressful, but at the end of the work day, maybe I will like cook a nice meal. I will watch a nice movie, spend time with my husband. That would be my release. I find something exciting that I look forward to every day, and not just at the end of the year when I go on vacation.
Right.
That's how
a daily thing.
Yeah, a daily thing.
Like, it could be something simple as
skincare.
Yeah, skincare, definitely.
Right?
We talked about it in the last episode. I am currently just studying the book Burnout by Dr. Emily and Emilia Nagoski, and I actually come across them from you because you shared the Brene Brown podcast. And in this book, they talk about what wellness is and the pursuit of wellness that I think both of us are going through. the state of wellness is actually not a state of being. It's not a destination and we want to be well. It's actually wellness is an action. You need to constantly be doing actions that are wellness actions. Instead of like, if you do this, I will be well. So that's a state of being. Right? So that's the destination, as opposed to look at it as an action. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge meditate for 45 minutes kind of wellness. For me, in the morning, sometimes saying good morning to my plants and giving and watering them is my action of wellness. And it looks different for everyone. You need to dive in. If you think that this is something that you're struggling with, stop thinking that things are cheesy. Give it a try. And then come and talk to us. Correct. We would love to hear that story.
And I think also, like, just to add in the last point, I think it's just to be kinder to yourself.
It's easy to say. It's easy to say. Both of us also.
For sure. The voices in our head just mess us up.
I have the negative thoughts as well, and I give you a very great example of this, and my boyfriend pointed this out to me. You know when you mess up something? Like, by the way, just now we had an issue with our podcast recording. We had to change because there was construction
at my house.
And say that it was something that I did, right? It was that kind of, nobody's mistake. It was just the situation. But then what I would say about the situation, because I wasn't ready for it, I was like, Amira, what an idiot. Instead of saying, this sucks, I should figure out something else. But then my first reaction is, Amira, you are an idiot for not thinking about that. Because then
you were blaming yourself.
I would say anything like, if I stuck my toe on the table, what an idiot. Instead of like, I shouldn't put it, the table shouldn't be here. But like, I should, it's that first thing. And why do I say that?
And I think another last point to the kids or younger people watching, listening, is also, I think, just don't take life too seriously. Just don't. Like, no one gives a shit. No one really cares too much about you. You want to post a silly TikTok post, you want to do this, just do it.
I care so much about how other people think as well. And then when I got to a point where I don't care anymore, that is when I got the balls to launch a podcast. Really, now I wouldn't say that I'm 100% don't care what people think. But it was only until I got to a certain level of comfort within myself that I am comfortable with kind of letting you guys hear out my thoughts and views. So it was a growing up process.
And the first episode, like, we were not wearing makeup. My 20-year-old self would just be like, what the hell are you doing? Letting people see you like that?
Oh my god, I remember looking and thinking, if this was 10 years ago, this was not going to be how you look, what you wear. So I guess we have come some ways. Sometimes we forget and we are stuck in our own problems and we think that we're not going nowhere. But it's good to just kind of pause and look who we were 10 years ago, and we have grown slightly to whatever degree it is. We are better than yesterday.
And everyone out there, just don't be too hard on yourself, because whatever journey that you're going through, you've gotten there. That would be the ending to the questions.
Awesome. This is nice.
All right, so we're in the last session of our episode. We have this session where we call the quick rapid fire questions, where I'll ask Amira 3 questions or more.
And I will ask Kuya back another 3 questions.
Right.
Okay. So I go first or you go?
I go first. I can ask you the questions.
Okay, got it.
Ready?
Wait.
Okay.
Get into like... Okay.
Okay, ready? All right, so 1, 2, 3. Society taught me to be...
Okay. I guess you don't have to perfect. I think this is a recurring thing in the podcast. If you guys have listened to the podcast, you will hear about this whole pursuit of perfection that I struggle with.
Right. Okay, next one. What is the one thing that you do for yourself every day? Just for yourself.
I wake up early in the morning.
Woo! Love it. That you do something that you feel you're doing that for you, not for anyone else, not for work.
I just wake up because I like it. And
quiet.
I do. I never thought of that. But that's what I do.
Thing. Yeah, all right. Your younger self was?
Very lonely and hurt. I mean, at that age, you don't really know how to call for help.
Of course. We don't know how to metabolize certain difficult
and how are we
emotions.
supposed to know at that age, right? So and I'm not blaming anybody around
Of
me.
course.
Everybody around me was also
Right.
probably didn't know what's going on,
Right.
but it's okay. We are here now.
Yeah.
We saw what happened.
Yeah.
So we
I
are.
have 2 more questions. Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I like your answers. Okay, when you are stressed, you will.
A lot of different things, but the first thing I would think of is cry. Because that's what, I'm a
And
crier.
Oh my god, me too. Love a good cry.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Cry in the shower, easy. Water fall down, you cry, wash, done.
I still cry before tidur. In the
Ah.
bed, like cry, then tidur.
Are you like a snot crying like
No, just tears.
okay, like silent tears?
Yeah.
I feel like, society also taught us how to like silently cry.
Yeah, you can't cry loudly.
So
Cannot
yeah,
ugly cry.
I look forward to my ugly cries because
Yeah.
that is my true cry. For me, when I am
Right.
what's the word, howling.
Right. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And try it.
Interesting.
Quite
Yeah,
nice.
try it. Makes you feel so like relieved afterwards.
Yeah,
After
yeah.
a good cry, you just feel like so relieved and you can sleep. No.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to tell anybody about it.
Yeah,
If
tell
you
them.
don't want to, don't
Cry alone.
tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
Just try it.
Okay, the last one. Being a woman is
Complex.
wow, accurate. Super
I
accurate.
don't think there is only one word to explain it, and your definition, my definition, and
Of course.
any other woman's, and then a man's definition is going to be different.
Yeah.
So it's a complex.
It is. But we love being women.
Yeah,
Right? Don't
I
get us
do.
wrong.
I think
Yeah.
it's a great place.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a woman and man, really enough. But it comes with its own challenges.
Of course.
Okay, my turn. All right. Okay. I am at my worst when I'm
At my worst when I'm okay, got it. When I'm insecure. Because I make decisions that are not the decisions that I'm out of fear. I make decisions out of fear when I'm insecure.
here.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, see me.
Like even at work, professional setting, or even at home when I'm insecure, I make decisions that will make me look better, but that's not a decision that I necessarily want to make. And
That's when you have to like stop, question yourself.
why you're making
Yeah,
a decision.
and then- Okay. The best thing for me
Mhm.
when I'm at my worst is
I'm at my worst. To be alone.
okay. So what do you do?
I just take a walk, or like just
Go
go
to
to
like
go
that coping routine that we're talking about, right?
or like take a nice shower, or like go to a mall, eat something by myself. That's what I
Yeah,
do.
and the more you are aware of this, the more you
Mm.
try it, you start recognizing what other activities that help make the stress go away.
Yeah.
And then you keep going back
Correct.
with that
Yeah.
activity. It's your go-to,
Yeah.
go-to remedies. Okay, the last one, which is kind of sort of the same thing. The most ridiculous expectations that I had of myself when I was a young girl is
Ridiculous expectations. As a young girl. Okay, got it. My parents' burden are mine.
that honestly is a whole episode.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But as a child, because I think I was the second child,
Okay.
and so I think close to being the first child. So I had that. I inherited all this burden that they are facing, or whatever. I felt like it was mine to solve, which was kind of a bit ridiculous when you think about it now. I was a child, but like I felt like they're going through whatever the struggles that they're going through, and if they share it with me, I felt like that was my fault or my burden to carry.
You still feel it now?
Yes and no. To an extent, a lot better now. But I think children will still have that as well sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think like just because we don't feel that our parents' burden is ours doesn't mean that we don't care about
Of
our parents
course,
anymore.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
that we're not gonna take over.
Of course.
But their problems are theirs.
sometimes
and
have
our
to.
problems are ours, and
Yeah.
sometimes the key is to actually help them with their problem instead of assuming that problem
Correct.
as ours.
Yeah, sometimes you have to stop trying to fix everything in everyone's lives. I think that was as a child, I wanted to fix
everything.
I'm a fixer.
You know what? That's a curse of a woman.
Yeah. Semua lah.
Semua kena
so
buat perfect. Semua
penat.
kena buat macam betul.
So kena buat betul. Anak you tak pandai. Oh, salah mak.
Yeah.
Your parents sakit. Where's the doctor? Like your team project at work doesn't do well.
Yes.
Who's the bitch that's doing this?
Yes. Yeah. Why is she not doing this? Like,
Yeah.
she should. She should be taking notes.
What? Oh, take note. Why me? No.
Oh, there's like a lot of triggers right now.
Yeah.
You see? Triggers.
And don't try to okay, I'm sorry. At work, it's like when the man says something that you said the exact same thing, tapi the man repeat it.
Yeah. And tiba-tiba everything is so badly. Did I not say that like 15 minutes ago? But okay. Maybe I need to say it louder.
Yeah.
Is that how you're gonna hear me?
With a deeper voice. Okay.
Yeah, we laugh, but it's a true thing. It's
I like what it feels like to. Okay.
Be fulfilled.
Ah.
But going back to my story about how I was a good student, I got all the scholarship, I got a good job. It seems like a very fulfilling life.
But it didn't fulfill you.
Surprise check! No, it was all a facade.
Yeah.
It was all a facade.
I think for me I felt trapped. I was in the cage of the expectations.
Yes.
And I think I like what it feels like when I'm free. Like I don't care about the expectations. So I think that's why I chose the word free. Yeah, because I seek that in my everyday life as well. Like just to
it guides your decision now, right?
Oh, 100%.
In everything you do.
100%. Yeah.
It's giving me the goosebumps just like talking about it, because I feel like both of us really started to go into what is the best for us.
Yeah.
It sounds very simple, but for the longest time, you and I has never really asked the question, what is the best thing for us? And
we did what we thought was best based on our upbringing and the conditioning.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's such a societal thing that I feel a lot of people do have those thoughts too, but are not able to process it.
Yeah.
And that's when you see a lot of destructive behaviors.
Correct. Yeah.
That could have gone a different way. And that's why I feel like I'm grateful for where I am right now, because I could have gone to a different path.
Wow.
With my partying days and just like recklessness.
Right.
But I was able to pivot, not by my own sheer will. I also have my environment and my support system.
You are where you are today because of you, and also life you never know where life can take you, right? So I think always we are grateful for where we are. I mean, to have met each other, to have gone on this we were never really close, and then to have be brave enough to be real and expose ourselves on podcasts and to each other. So I think good things will happen if you try to be yourself, instead of just. Trust me, guys, I was like a fake person for the longest time. Amira knows. I was fake. Which is true. A lot of people think I was fake. I was fake.
I will be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this before, so this is nothing new.
Yeah.
I felt like we were not good friends because I could sense that you were not being your true self, and I was allergic to that kind of people who are not authentic. And it was only when we start talking about real shit, that's when I started getting an interest in this friendship, and it just went.
Yeah, it blew.
It blew so much with that.
Yeah, I think also just an advice a bit to everyone, because I think sometimes when we say authentic self, who you are, I think some people, like myself included, also struggle to figure out what that means, because I was so hung up on being the ideal female, whatever it is, wife or whatever. So I think just don't be so hard on yourself. You have all the time in the world to figure out what it is to be yourself, and just find things that gives you joy every day. That concludes the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening, and do share your challenges and how do you deal with burnout. We are all still struggling with it, and we're still dealing with burnout. The first week of 2021 has not been great. And challenges will always come, like we said just now. So I think we need all the help that we can to deal with this together, deal with the challenges together. All right, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.